How's it going, guys? It's Burgos here and welcome to another Rise of Kingdom video. Today we're going to talk about 5 beginner tips that is going to save you months of progression. And when I started first playing Rise of Kingdoms, I thought getting stronger was all about playing more. If I stay active, upgrade everything and spend my resources, whether I'm got them, I assume I do naturally keep up with everyone else. But after playing for a while, I realized something surprising. The players pulling far ahead weren't necessarily playing more than everyone else. They were just simply making better decisions. Today we're not looking about some hidden mechanics or complicated strategy. Instead, we're going to look at 5 decisions that completely change how your account develops over time. You'll learn why experienced players build differently, invest differently, and even think differently than most of the beginners. By the end of this guide, you'll understand how those small decisions combine to create accounts that stay ahead for months, instead of consistently trying to catch up. Every time we discuss those strategies together, I end up learning something new from your experience as well. So if you enjoy this type of long-term strategy content, consider subscribing, and if today's guide help you avoid some costly mistake, I do really appreciate if you leave one like. So let's start with the first tip and a question that every player who is starting the game should ask himself is, do you really need 5 marches? One of the biggest misconceptions beginners have is believing they need as many marches as possible, quick as possible. That sounds logical at first, but in reality, 5 weak marches almost never outperform one properly built march. Every commander, sculpture, piece of equipment, and experience book you spread across multiple marches is investment that isn't making your stronger march better. And this is something that I'm trying to avoid from day one. I'm right now building just a single march. This is going to be Minamoto and Cao Cao. Now, if you don't have Minamoto, I strongly suggest go with Sun Tzu. And even know that I'm actually spending in this game, like low spender, sometimes close to mid spender, I don't think I'm going to play with more from one legion. Why is that? It's just because your future account flexibility depend on that, because you're not spending your universal sculptures. And as you can see, I have like 232 of these sculptures. This is one of the things. So all the investments go heavily at one march. So this march, commanders become with better skills or expertise, the equipment go better there, everything get better there. Also, if you have specific troop type, you can just go and actually boost this troop type. Obviously there is a generic or for all of the troops boost, but you can have something. For example, if you go with cavalry, you're going to have something like future increase attack of your cavalry units. So just by going with these two boosts is going to be enough, to spend less in form of resources and speed ups, and to make one troop extremely solid. From there to make one legion extremely solid. That's why by building couple legions, you're going to even spread your experience book, but even your medals. I mean, right now I'm thinking should actually go for Minamoto at 6-star, because if I go with 6-star, most likely I'm not going to have, if some other commander appear, most likely I'm not going to have enough stars to make the next commander also 6-star. So I'm still in the decision stage, but I don't overinvest. There's basically like 3 heroes that currently have my investment. And since I'm actually spender, I may actually afford to go with 2 legions. Maybe it's not like 100%. I'm not like 100% sure, but I'm still thinking over this. But if you're free-to-play player and you want to go with 5 marches, I think this is a mistake. And the best tip I can give you when you start playing this game, go with a single legion. The next tip is, should you spend universal sculptures immediately? One of the easiest way to swell your account is spending universal sculpture. The moment you unlock a new legendary commander, it's exciting to see a new commander appear in your roster, so many players immediately start investing without thinking about what that commander fits into their long-term plans. Experienced players usually do opposite. They decide which commander they want to build first, then they save their universal sculptures until they're ready to fully commit. And I already show you that I have some legendary sculptures and I'm basically stockpile them, and there is a reason I have like 232. It's just because I'm waiting for one commander, that is Yasuji, at one point to come in Rise of Kingdom. This commander is still not here, so those guides that are made by people before me or in general are in YouTube that can give you some an idea what is, what commanders are going to come. Is going to just help you buy a lot, at least to prepare your plan. So I'm actually lucky that I'm starting right now playing Rise of Kingdom, because there is just so much information, so I can see what is going to come in the future and prepare myself for these heroes. But a mistake that I was making back in the days was this one. I unlock some commander, it can be some legendary commander, and believe it, this is so many commanders you're going to unlock at day one. Look at this thing. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 19 commanders, 20 commanders if I actually count Barca, 20 commanders at the season 1. So, and I see this problem. A lot of people decide, okay, I'm going to just go with this commander like 5-1-1-1, and they spend their universal sculptures to make 5-1-1-1. And after this, they never touch this commander, even though that this is not actually costing that much to, making this hero 5-1-1. But at the end of the day, it is going to be like 20, 30, 40 sculptures that you're going to spend here over the hero that you're not going to use. And one of the first things I actually make was to boost my VIP level to be VIP 10. At the VIP 10, I for the first time start getting these legendary sculptures, because they're going to stockpile till the first KVK arrive. I'm close to a VIP 12, where I'm going to get like 2 legendary sculptures, and because I know how important, and this is your future flexibility. Every time, even if you're end game player right now in Rise of Kingdom, playing for like I don't know how many years, the new commander that is going to come in the game, you better have these legendary sculptures for this commander, because it may actually end up to be a meta commander, and to get the value way more sooner from this to not have anything and no account flexibility. So yeah, the universal sculptures is going to be one of the most important things that you're going to have. And you have to have a plan. You just have to have a plan. You cannot afford to not have plan with these legendary sculptures. Just ask your alliance what is going to come in the future, what kind of combos maybe is working right now, or just watch my videos. I'm going to try to provide with the best tips and tricks in Rise of Kingdom. The next beginner tip is, do you need more power before joining a strong alliance? A lot of beginners believe they need to become stronger before applying to a top alliance. The reality is that joining a better alliance is often one of the fastest ways to become stronger in the first place. Strong alliances provide more gifts, better event rewards, faster help timers, safer territory, and access to experienced players who can help you avoid expensive mistakes. And this is something like a mistake that I believe is not actually that much beginner tip, but is, yeah, tip and mistake in same time. If you don't join in the top alliance by thinking, okay, I'm going to just, level up these buildings, getting more power for my account and all these things, but in same time, the people who is already in those alliances are gathering gold chests, there is alliance gifts, There's going to be, for example, sculptures of Walker. There's going to be some active points or combat points. What was the name? Yeah, potions that is going to arrive here. Action point potions. Um, Speed ups. The chest is going to be higher level here. That is going to treasure. That chest is just going to generate you so much things and give you so much things. So if you're thinking that you should wait, you're basically progressing, but somebody who is maybe at your power is going to be already there, and they're going to be like 2 times more faster progressing. And there is a other thing, especially on the auto help, which is, you know, very, very important. This is for the spenders. I'm actually spending, as I already mentioned. But yeah, this thing, auto peacekeeping, auto help, this is very solid, especially if you end up in some kind of spender alliance, that just people are not going to wait somebody to click help me and to speed up your progress. But in those alliances, people most likely are already having that. So one tip I can actually give you for the alliance is, the moment you start playing, first of all, try to join in a project. When you join in the project, you're going to just guarantee that you're going to start in the strong alliance. And in those projects, people already know what they're going to do. There is not people who is just the day they see that there is a Rise of Kingdom game and decide to make something. No, this experienced players, experienced leadership, a lot of projects are very nice with some whales, some krakens inside. But if there is you just start right now, try to boost your power. I'm going to make separate video how to boost your power, but try to join in this type of alliances. It's just going to help you by a lot. There is again some gold chests from the rares that is giving you like 15 hours in universal speed ups. Those things cannot be, you know, the more somebody is in this type of alliance, the more advantage he is building. So if you're outside of this type of alliance, it can be top 3, you're already losing, you're not compatible with the people who is inside. So you have to do something about it. The next beginner tip is power really the best way to measure progress? One of the biggest traps in Rise of Kingdom is thinking that higher power number automatically means a stronger account. Power certainly matter, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Two players can have nearly identical power where having completely different commanders, investments, equipment quality, technology, and battlefield performance. Experienced players don't chase power for its own sake. They focus on making efficient investment that improve how their account actually perform, even if those upgrades don't create big increase in total power. And this is one of the mistakes that I see people making, especially when they start playing Rise of Kingdom. The reason why the people are doing that is they're looking to get more power to join in the top alliances. This is maybe the biggest issue that is happening. People are making stupid mistakes trying to join in the top alliance. And when they join, they just cannot keep up because they spent all their resources chasing those power. And what I mean by that, by those resources, I already show you that I have like 222 of this legendary, universal legendary sculpture. I can boost my power with these sculptures right now and get more strong march, but I'm save it for something else. If I was needing and I was caring that much about the power, those sculptures most likely is not going to be there. Same for the stars. There's going to also boost my power. The other thing that some players are doing is, you know, boosting their talents. For example, if you go here and you decide you're going to boost these bad boy talents, you're just going to level up those heroes till level, I don't know, till level 30, opening all of the skills here, in same time going for all of the talents. So you're basically going to spread your experience or tomes of knowledge around multiple heroes, getting multiple levels, especially at the beginning the levels is more cheap, and then getting more talents. And at one point, you're going to see people with same power, but one of the persons are going to be like me, having like 200 plus sculptures, having other things that is giving their account flexibility in the future. So like this, they can boost power. There's going to be some other that is going to spend everything they have, and they're not going to be able to boost the power if it's needed. So in this case, there is also chance to get left behind again from the top alliance. So majority of the cases, the top alliance is actually fully with spenders, but the place number 2 and 3 in the alliance is also going to serve you very well. So don't try to go in the top alliance if you're like, okay, maybe this is not a good suggestion, but don't inflate your power like there is something behind. Especially don't spend your precious resources just to get little more power, and at the same time uh, taking out your account flexibility in the future. And the final tip is, should you spend resources as soon as you get them? Most beginners see resources, speed ups, action points, or gems as something that they should be spent immediately. The problem is that Rise of Kingdom constantly rewards players who plan ahead. Many events offer significantly better value if you're already saved the resources they require. Experienced players don't save everything forever, they simply think about whether those resources will create the biggest return before spending them. And I can give you immediately a suggestion or giving you example what I did. Um, Back in the days, I was saving for months for a city hall, especially the city skin, because city skin is something that is not that easy to be achieved. So by saving your speed ups, by saving speed ups, it can be research, building, training speed ups. It's going to be training speed ups when you hit specific amount of power, because you're not having unlimited building and you don't have unlimited researches. So you have to keep this thing in mind when you progress with your account. Those things have, limit. Till the training speed ups, they don't have limit. So at one point you're going to compete with training speed ups, but if you're clever, you can just wait and strike and get some nice legendary city skin. Like this, for example, those skins is going to give you, if you're cavalry main, you're going to get like 10% cavalry attack. There is a lot of epic one, but they're on the half of what the legendary is actually giving. And here, summer plays, archer attack, healing speed. There is just so many city skins, and that one was the latest city skin that appear in Rise of Kingdom, and this is archer defense extra 20%. This is crazy. You also have some I think adornment, if I think, but I didn't actually get this city skin, so I cannot show you. This is like 20% archer defense. Crazy, very solid. So why not saving speed ups for this type of city skin? And this is going to be something that you're going to save for like couple months. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be like for 5 weeks you save and you got the event and you try to compete, and maybe you're going to get it, maybe you're not going to get it. You want to be sure that you want to get it for free by competition, and with the seals you can afford to maybe buy other city skin. This is just an example of the resources that you basically are getting, and not spend your resources as soon as they get them. Now obviously when you start playing the game, you want to spend as much as you can in form of getting, for example, the economy research, like rethink, that is going to give you research power, or even further. This is, for example, engineering. This is building speed up 35%, mathematics 15%, research speed. This is the only thing that I get from here, and I actually stop at this point here, because I need the most important researchers. So there is always milestones. There is always milestones. This is the technology milestone that is just going to help you build way more faster and research way more faster. From there, you can go open your tier 4. Tier 4 is going to be your first milestone. The biggest milestone is going to be tier 5, but it's going to take more time. The other thing, from VIP, at VIP 6, you're going to basically get the first milestone, which is unlocking second building queue, which is a very solid. From there, at level 10, your first legendary commander sculpture. There is a lot of milestones that if you reach them more faster, it's just going to benefit by a lot your account. But doubling down or tripling down on same path after you get the minimum value is not a smart way to proceed in this game. So yeah, there is a minimum value that you should go for sure, and the more faster you get there, the better. But you should know where they are, and you should try to get them, and from there you can, get more easy with your resources. Today wasn't really about learning 5 tips. It was about learning 5 ways of thinking that can completely change how your account develop over long term. I want to give a huge thank you to all the channel members, because your support allowed me to spend time testing strategies, comparing investments, and creating guides that focus on long-term progression instead of just following the latest trends. If you do like to support the channel, participate in the member-only strategy discussions, get priority for your questions, and help vote for the future Rise of Kingdom guides, you can check out the membership below the video.